Welcome, everybody, to the Patty G Show. I am your host, Patty G, here with Trey from the W Group. Thank you so very much, Trey, for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm enjoying this left. I
don't. If somebody knows how to pronounce it the correct way, I think it's left. Let us know.
Yeah, if you do chime in and spell it out for us on the Facebook page, how to actually pronounce this beer. Either way, it's good. I'm excited to get rolling with this. So, what is the W Group, man?
That's an amazing question, right? So the W Group. So the W Group with Keller Williams, Greater Baton Rouge. We're a real estate team here locally in the Greater Baton Rouge market. I am now celebrating my 10th year as of this month in the industry, so I'm extremely grateful. 10th year.
Okay.
Extremely grateful that I've made it this far. Most agents fail in the first 5 years in the business, 85%. So it's a pretty high failure rate in our industry. So.
Okay, so 10 years working for somebody else, because the W Group is...
Yeah, so...
Has it been around for 10 years?
No, it has not been around for 10 years. So
okay.
The W Group is a team, it's a real estate team with Keller Williams, Greater Baton Rouge, and we help buyers, we help sellers, we help investors, we help builders, we help everyone. If we can assist you with any real estate needs, please let us know.
Got it. Okay, so how did you get started in real estate? What made you want to go this route?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So was in the service industry for almost 10 years. Went to LSU, graduated in 2007. Just like most people, I got out of school and was trying to figure things out. So all through college, from 2001 until 2000, in and out of the service industry until almost 2010.
Okay.
Was in the service industry. Now I did have a couple stints. I sold telecommunication sales right out of college. So if anyone is curious what that is, it was phone and internet service to commercial buildings. So like Cox Business, very comparable. It was a company called Cavalier, big in the Northeast. I did that. I hated it. It was a grind, dude. It was not.
So was it door to door, or did you have prospects you could go to that were looking in, or was it just I'm going to everybody and everybody?
Yeah, so it was more of a B2B type of sale. So It was business to business. It was a lot of knocking on doors. It was calling your sphere of influence or people you may know who own a business, and it was like, hey, who's your phone and internet provider? We had T1 line. So then almost 10 years ago. Maybe a little over 10 years ago now, 13 years ago. We were one of the only companies with dedicated T1 lines, and it was affordable.
Okay.
And then I got recruited from there to go sell office equipment, so copy machines, digital office equipment, if you will. And that was a job that I held for a while, and it was the same kind of thing. It was a B2B deal, and it was. It was a lot of knocking on doors. It was a lot of gatekeepers. Never anything I was really passionate about, but I was just really trying to figure it out. So I'd always go back to the service industry. I worked at Cheesecake Bistro. Shout out to Cheesecake Bistro.
So I worked at Roberto's River Road Restaurant during high school. For those that are familiar, right off of River Road in Sunshine or St. Gabriel. I'm not sure where the border of their location and where the cities cross. So service industry, I got a little bit of a background in there myself.
So in the service industry for a long time, and it was my crutch. It was something that I was really good at. It was something that I could make. I'm over here looking at this camera. I should probably look at this camera.
Whichever camera you want, all three of them, right?
Right. It was a job that I really enjoyed. I was really good at. I could make. I knew what I was going to make, which is consistency. I really liked the consistency, and I know this is a really long-winded answer, so bear with me.
I love it. I
had a lot of friends say, "Hey, man, you'd be really good at real estate," and I was like, "Man, I don't really know anything about real estate."
Wow.
So I've always been a very outgoing, personable person. I genuinely care about people, and I think that came out. I mean, even like if I waited tables, it was like I am going to give the diners the best experience that they've ever had.
Right.
In all of their life. I had massive amounts of regulars who would come in and see me, and it was they knew what they were getting. It was a consistent experience every time, and I was very proud of that. So I think my friends saw that, and they were like, "You'd be pretty good at this." So a guy named Tim Houk, the guy that I actually worked with.
Tim Houk, okay, of Houk Group?
The Houk Group.
All right, I thought it was Houk. I'm sorry, Tim. I thought it was Houk. Appreciate the clarification there.
Yeah, Tim reached out to me and said, "Hey man, I've got an opportunity. I think you'd be amazing at real estate." I had already started taking the class to become an agent, and he said, "Look, how much are you making weekly in the service industry?" And I told him, I was like, "Look, dude, if you could pay me $400 a week," and I was also we all put this together. I was a professional DJ.
Well, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Okay, so I had an additional income from my DJ career, which really helped me get into real estate, right? So I had two incomes coming at the time. He said, "Look, I'll pay you $400. Be my assistant. We'll get you rolling." And then once I really started to get rolling as an assistant, it wasn't 2 months. I was an awful assistant. I mean, awful. Means to an end, right? Got my real estate license, became a buyer's agent with Tim, and that was in 2010. So October, which again, 10 years from this month, which is pretty insane to celebrate that. So that's how I got started in the real estate business.
Gotcha. And I've got a lot of avenues to dive into within that single answer. So yes. First and foremost, doing the service industry, that's like, for people who are in the service industry, or people who are not aware of, haven't even tried the service industry, it's sales, right?
It's sales.
It's sales. So you being in the service industry has kind of trained that sales mind, that methodical customer first mindset and mentality that when you go into real estate, it just translates so well.
Yes.
And now you're in real estate, you've already learned how to care for these people by being in the service industry. Now it's like, okay, just use those same skills in real estate, just you're selling different products.
That's right, 100%. And I think you can't, your personality, it's not something you can fake, right? You're either a genuine and authentic person and you really care about other people, or you don't, right?
And if you don't, it's going to become so relevant and so physically seen that it's going to be crazy. Like if we walk in and you're having a bad night, I can tell from the second my server walks up to me if they're having a good night or a bad night.
100%.
And that just goes into everything in life. Any person you interact with, for the most part, when the time you see them, from the first second, all right, they're having a good day or they're having a bad day. It's just how people walk. It's all just subconscious that they do when they're having a bad day versus a good day.
100%. So again, if you have the personality, and it's funny, we can get into this, but the majority of the agents on my team, we've all been in the service industry. And I think that's one of the things that's made a lot of the agents really talented is they've had, I mean, again, when you're an agent and when you're in the service industry, you're walking up to a table and you've never met these people, likely, right?
Yeah, you have no idea who they are.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Trey. I'm gonna be assisting you guys. I'm gonna be your server tonight. So it's like, you have to be on all the time, and you have to build the rapport pretty instantly. And again, it's like that when we get a call, right, or we meet a client somewhere. It's you've got to have the ability to build that rapport instantly. So I think that's very important,
especially with real estate, because within real estate you are with somebody for 9 times out of 10. That's the biggest purchase of their life.
Biggest purchase of their life.
Biggest purchase of their life. It's the most emotional purchase they're ever going to make. For people that buy cars and that are car people, I'm a car guy myself. Buying a car is one thing, but buying a house is a whole different ball game. For 9 times out of 10, that's the biggest check you're going to write at closing.
Sure, absolutely.
If you're paying cash, that's even the biggest check that you're probably cut in your lifetime. And when you walk into a house or you walk into a piece of real estate that you're going to live there, you have to have that emotional connection.
100%.
I know whenever I was looking for my house, I think we looked at 8 different homes.
Which 8 is insane. I wish clients only looked at 8 homes. Sometimes they look at lots, 30, 40.
I don't doubt that.
Right.
We looked at 8, and it gets to the point where you know which one's the one.
Sure.
Because you go look at, we looked at 6, and then the 7th one we looked at, we were like, we love it.
This is it.
And then we were like, we love it. We really love everything this house has. And went to the 8th one, and we were just like, it's not the 7th.
No.
Not the 7th. And I told my wife, I was like, all right, let's just drive back around. Let's just get another look at it after we viewed it. We drove back around, and somebody was there for another viewing, and they were like peeking over the fence, trying to look there before the realtor showed up. I'm like, they're not living there. Let's buy it.
That's mine.
Right. And so having that connection with your customer as a real estate agent is paramount, because they have to trust you to provide the product that they're going to potentially raise a family in.
You hope so, right?
You hope so,
Right.
or they're retired and now they're downsizing. So or they already have kids and all that. But either way, they're going to spend a majority of their life in that household.
They're
at
going
least
to
a third if
yeah, 7 to 9 years seems to be the average amount of time that a person spends in a home before moving. Obviously, that's probably more in the beginning when you first buy a home, and then as you get further along in your life, you typically stay in a house significantly longer. So
yeah, I think my parents' first house they stayed in for 4 or 5 years that they built. The next house they stayed in it for 27 years.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
It's crazy.
It
But
is.
So moving on from the restaurant scene, the customer service scene, you were a DJ.
I was the DJ, yes.
So all right, because there's two definitions in my head of what a DJ is. I was a DJ and still do occasionally. I dabble with it, but we were a wedding and a dance DJ, so, which means we just played music.
Yeah.
We didn't do all the mixing and all that stuff. So which type of a DJ were you? The one that was mixing live on stage, or the one that was just press and play and skipping on to the next songs?
Yeah, so I was the mixologist, right?
Oh, okay.
I was the guy on stage. I was mixing every track, blending, scratching, cutting, looping, you name it. A lot of that we did live. Now some of it was just as easy as blending, right? And beat match tracks. So tracks have what's called a BPM, so beats per minute. Depends on how fast or how slow a track is. So I'll just educate some people in the DJ world.
How fast it gets your heart.
I know, right? So the faster, so like electronic music may run 128 to 140 beats per minute, where like your lower stuff would be like like a lot of hip hop tracks kind of sit in that 70 to maybe 80, 85 range. And then as they get a little bit faster, right, the BPM kicks up. So most importantly, when mixing, the tracks have to match beats per minute. Number one, there's other things that go into mixing. You're usually dropping tracks on the bass lines. They have intros, they have outros, so you have to be careful not to mix like words over words. There's just a lot of strategy, looping, lots and lots of things. Again, not going to give you guys a DJ lesson, but I was always passionate.
Wait, you didn't know this was a DJ lesson?
Right,
I was
right.
just here for the DJ background.
Oh.
That's it.
We get we'll try to cover everything, man. Make sure we have enough value for everyone, right?
Right.
But I'd always find myself in the nightclubs. I didn't like to dance. I was never I just kind of like to hang out, but I was more intrigued on what the DJs were doing behind the scenes, and just because they had so much influence on what happened in the club, right? And they just were they were cool. They were the cool guys, right? So I wanted to be the cool guy,
and
right?
And that's what I loved about it too. Was you're the behind the scenes, like I guess the biggest show or whatever you want to call it that we did, which I'm sure is nothing compared to what you did, was because we would do weddings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, you'd have 300 people there for a wedding, 400 people, but it's a wedding.
It's a wedding.
People are going there to dance.
No disrespect, but it was.
It's a wedding. No. I know. That's why when I say I'm a DJ, people are like, oh, you're gonna mix some tracks. I'm like, no. Hang on.
No, hang on.
hang on. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna play the song. I'll make sure they blend well. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm watching the dance floor and I'm picking out the appropriate song, but I'm not sitting there mixing and doing my own. Like I'm not sitting there creating music. I'm playing music.
You have to
maintain the people's rhythm.
Yeah, you have to have an ear for music, right?
Right, you got to have an ear for music, and you got to have an eye for what the people want. You got to give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want. I agree.
And so in doing that, we did a surprise birthday party at the Varsity. That stage, I know you had from what I understand, your show was at the Varsity.
That was my Elevate on Saturday nights was my night for 2.5 years. So yes,
that stage is awesome.
Stage is amazing.
That stage is fantastic. And so it's me and my brother that would do it, and he is kind of like you, doesn't really dance. He'll just sit there and we'll play the tracks and everything, but I'm the one with the microphone walking around trying to pump everybody up. And I'm if I was just someone back here, I'd be dancing and all that stuff. But we had that balance. You
got to have the balance. So I was a little, I would get on the mic every now and then, and I would definitely I'd vibe, I'd vibe, but I'm not. I wasn't the guy that would get on the mic and be the hype man of the show. I was all about the music, and I was all about making sure that we entertained people, and that everybody had an amazing time. So
yeah, and that then has now transposed into real estate.
It has, yes.
But before we get into the W Group and what that did today, is I want to touch more on what I think people kind of undervalue and that's being an assistant to somebody.
Sure.
Being an assistant to whether it be a CEO, a business leader, being an assistant, or even an intern for that matter, which now Patty Gijo has an intern.
Which is amazing. He has his own intern, by the way, guys. He just left.
he had to roll.
So we have to put
first day on the job, but he already left. So next time, if he listens to this or watches this, just know that we dogged him.
Right, for sure. He'll watch it.
Yeah. So if he doesn't, but anyways, so being an assistant or an executive assistant to somebody, you really learn so much.
Yeah, so 100%. I tell people my story is it's the dishwasher to the executive chef, right? You've got to learn the business from the foundation, and I was very fortunate to, number one, start as an assistant, number two, work on a team. I developed a lot of amazing disciplines in the beginning that inevitably helped me have the amount of success I have today. I didn't know any better. I was extremely naive. I read a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It said do A, B, C, and D, systems, models, and processes. And I was like, cool, I can do this. There's a roadmap to my success. And I followed it. I didn't question it. I didn't, I just said, cool, if this is what it says that I need to do to be successful, look, do not try to recreate the wheel. Right. Someone has been more successful than you and will be more successful than you, and they have left. They say it all the time, success leaves clues, right? So this book, right, was my model, and I followed it and quickly became a buyer's agent for Tim and his team in my first year, 33 or 36. This is 10 years ago. Transactions. First year I was Rookie of the Year with Keller Williams, Red Stick Partners. And then from there, it was just a compound effect that's taken place. And again, here we are 10 years, and now I'm the CEO of my business and running a pretty amazing real estate group.
Absolutely. And it's when people... I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk or not.
Oh, Gary V, baby.
So, and he preaches work for free. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So and that's when you're like, I was his assistant, just studying to become a buyer's agent.
That's right.
Okay, that right there is what I feel like is kind of lost between a lot of people, because they don't, when they go to college or they get their degree, they want to come out and they want to get paid X dollars.
Everybody wants to make a lot of money.
In their mind, right out of college, that's what they should make.
Sure.
But in reality, it's like, no, you're like 20, you're 22. You've got all the time in the world. So why don't you go, if you can, work for somebody for free, or like you said, $400 to be an assistant.
Sure.
And it's bare minimum so you can learn to then one day get to that point where now you're the CEO, the founder of your very successful firm. But people want to skip that step.
Everybody wants to go from the start to the finish line, and they don't want to crawl before they can walk. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's the world that we live in now, just because we're influenced by so many people and we see so much instant gratification, right?
Social media.
Yeah. So I call it the on-demand economy, right? Everybody is just so used to getting what they want when they want it. There is no patience. So look, you want a package or you want to buy something on Amazon, you got Prime, 2 days, it's on your porch.
If it's not 2 days, if it's not next day, I'm not
right. You want to ride somewhere, Uber, Lyft, you want food delivered, waiter, Uber Eats, all these places. So the world we live in, and I'm really glad we're talking about this, so we call it the on-demand economy. What it's done is people have little patience, right? So moving into the real estate transaction, we won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but people want it to happen really fast. But there's so many steps, and there's so much that has to happen with financing and inspections and title work and negotiations, and mostly the financing piece is really what takes a long time. Not to mention it takes some time to find the right house, right?
Yeah, the one.
And then it's a 30 to 45 day process. So that's the one thing that we're really working on as a team, and something that I'm extremely passionate about is how do we make the process more efficient, more effective, and more transparent for the clients, which is something we're all trying to figure that out in my industry. And it's very difficult because there's so much that is not in our control, meaning financing.
Right.
So if the buyer decides tomorrow that they want to go out and buy a new car, right, which could totally jack up their debt to income ratio, right, and keep them from no longer affording a home. I mean, it could be they were let go of from their job or just whatever their financial situations changed. There's obviously inspections, right? Which someone else owns the house. How well have they taken care of the house? We've had a lot of appraisals come in short here recently, and it's because the appraisers, they're extremely overwhelmed right now. So I'm not blaming appraisers for the appraisals coming in low, but we're in a market right now where there's super low inventory. There's a massive demand. Money's cheap.
I was going to say, in my mind, I would think that the appraiser's going to come in way high. If money's cheap and you've got a low inventory, I mean, it's supply and demand. Prices can get higher.
So you think.
That's basic.
That's economics 101, right? And that's the problem we're seeing. Everything's contingent on inspections, contingent on appraisals, contingent on financing, contingent on everything. So we live in a pretty conservative, pretty slow pace. And I say slow pace, I don't mean necessarily slow pace. But we don't live in a world where you're on the East Coast or West Coast or in one of these really desirable areas where like homes are going on and off the market super fast, no contingencies, so no inspections, no appraisal contingencies, people are paying cash. We're very, people are financing 95% of the loan. They need their 12-day inspections. They're all contingent on appraisals. So where you would think the prices would start to rise, the appraisers are capping them out because there's not comps, right, that justify a higher cost. So appraisers are saying, these are the houses that sold. This is the value. This is what somebody's willing to pay. So we're not seeing home appreciation like other parts of the world because of the financing contingencies, because of the appraisal contingencies, things like that. So it's interesting, but one would think.
Because I had the opposite effect. Mm-hmm. So, of course, if you owned a home and you purchased it within the last 2 or 3 years and you were paying high interest rates, whenever everything dropped this last 2 quarters and everything was super low for interest rate wise, if you had the ability to finance, it was wise of you to do so.
Absolutely. Depends on where your interest rate was before.
Right. And it depends on where your interest rate was before. And you obviously consult your banker and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not a banker by any means.
We're not lenders.
Yeah, we're not lenders. We're not approving any loans here. But we're talking about our personal experiences. And so within mine, I did refinance my house and we got, whatever it was off. But my appreciation within a year was crazy.
Significant.
I was like, oh my gosh, we went up, I want to say 20% in the value of our home.
That's insane.
And I'm like, how did that go up within just a year with this happening? My banker called me. He was like, dude, your house went way up than we thought.
Fortunately for you, and you live in an area where there's not as much of a cap. So if you live in certain neighborhoods, there's usually there's a cap for a price per square foot. But when you live in neighborhoods like Mid-City and the Garden District, Glenmore, Claycut, Country Club, Broussard,
right where I'm at,
right where you're at. There's no caps. Capitol Heights might get 185 to 200 plus a foot. Some of these other places may go north of 200. Old Goodwood north of 200. It's insane. But if you're in a neighborhood where there's, let's just say there's 200 or 300 homes. I'll use Spring Lake Fair Hill where there's almost 1,000 homes. Probably 900 homes. Probably maybe even closer to 1,000. Their price per square foot. The houses are in Fair Hill are a little bit bigger, but the ones in Spring Lake, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, anywhere between probably 15 and maybe 1750, 1,800 feet. They all kind of range depending on what improvements they made, but they usually hit a ceiling, and that ceiling might be in the 160s to low 160s a foot,
right,
where there's no really ceiling where you are. So it depends where you are and what's happening and what the activity is and how desirable those neighborhoods are. So
and it makes sense. Where we're at, Mid-City, the Garden District, that whole area is just starting to blow up with economic development of new businesses being open.
Oh yeah,
and the population, I feel like the younger crowd is moving that way.
It's probably one of, if not the only, Baton Rouge doesn't have any real true urban lifestyle or real urban living where things are walkable. I'd say Mid-City, Capitol Heights is probably the closest thing that we have to a real urban lifestyle.
From my house, I could walk to Government Taco, Jada Cody.
Yeah.
When it opens, I can walk to Government Taco if I wanted to. But it's a bit of a walk.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not going to be. I'm not going to leave my
Superior
house.
Grill, Fleur de Lis.
All those places right there on Government, close to Jefferson. Is pretty much walking distance from my house.
Yep.
But to see somebody walking from my house to there,
right,
people look at you and like, why are they walking?
Why is he walking?
Like, why is
who in Baton Rouge walks anywhere?
Even riding bikes, they bash me.
Right.
Like, I'll be going down Clay Cut, which for those that aren't aware, there's a bike painted on the road. We share the road. We can actually bike there, but everybody hates it.
Right.
We are so not welcoming to alternative means of transportation in the city. It's crazy.
The urban lifestyle here is really non-existent. But yes, it is a desirable place to live. There's a lot of people moving over there, and it is appreciating in prices. But if we're looking at like the market as a whole, so Greater Baton Rouge as a whole, it's a pretty conservative 2 to 3% appreciation. Years like this, we might see somewhere between 3 and 5% appreciation for the most part. But what's good is we won't see a bubble like 2008, the crisis, right? The housing crisis. There was a massive amount of inventory available. There was obviously the bubble. They were giving mortgages away to anyone who had a pulse. No doc loans. It was a completely different world that we live in today. Regulations are significantly tighter. Right now, inventory levels were at probably 3 months, right at 3 months in the entire Greater Baton Rouge market, which means it's a significant seller market.
So what does that mean for lay people? What does 3 months market mean?
Yeah, so that means if no other houses came on the market, it would only take 3 months to absorb all of the inventory.
Okay.
So the picture, 6 months is kind of the break-even point, right? So anything south of 3 months is a seller's market. 6 months would be considered a neutral market. Anything above 6 months is considered a buyer's market.
Gotcha.
So we're talking economics 101. Seller's market, there's low supply, high demand. Neutral market at 6 months, there's enough demand to meet the supply. And then when you go north of 6 to 7, well, really anything north of 6 months, now there's more inventory than there is actual demand. So what happens is and I won't really say depreciation happens, but list to sale price ratio, meaning we listed a house at, I'll just use $200,000, and we ended up having to negotiate 3 to 5% off the list price, where in a seller's market, it's actually 98% list to sale price right now, which just means most sellers are negotiating 2% off list price. You get into a seller's market, or a buyer's market, excuse me, you're looking at sellers, they're going to just negotiate off their sales price a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So within all of this, you've got, this vast knowledge of real estate. So what made you want to make the jump from being in a comfortable position of working for somebody, doing essentially anything you wanted to? What made you want to make that jump?
Yeah, so you hit a ceiling. Sometimes some people hit a ceiling. I won't say everybody hits a ceiling. It's really how much ambition you have, and I have a massive amount of ambition. I've been influenced by a lot of people. I've been in real estate coaching now for a long time, as long as probably 2000. I want to say 12 or 13 is when I hired my first real estate coach. So when you hire a real estate coach, or you start to spend time with people who are producing at a significantly higher level than you, the question comes up: all right, how number one, how are they doing it? Number two, if they can do it, why can't I do it? And again, depending on what your ambition levels are. And I'll tell you, 2016, and not to get too personal, but I'll get a little personal on this deal. 2016 was probably one of the best years of my life financially. I was a solo agent at the time, and then I hit a ceiling, meaning I couldn't possibly do more business without it starting to affect my quality of life. 16 was an amazing year, and they always talk about the J curve. Mm-hmm. So I decided I wanted to start a team, because this is what everybody was doing. You hit the ceiling, and it's like, all right, I gotta leverage. I need a team. I need more people. I got all these leads. I got all these opportunities, but I can't. So who can work with me?
You're one person. There's 24 hours in a day.
That's right. So I had an assistant, and it was me. And then we hit a ceiling. I did 113 transactions that year. Several of those transactions were a big development we put together. But regardless, it was crazy, and it was great financially. I still did have a pretty solid life at the time, but I knew the next step for me was to build a team. So 2017, started a team, and I hit the J curve. And they say the J curve, you find yourself when you're starting a team in the valley of the J curve, and I found myself in the valley of the J curve.
The depths of the valley.
The depths of the valley, and it was an amazing year in the sense of I learned a lot. I was just like, value everybody on my team. I'm going to give y'all all of even my opportunities, and I'm just going to be the CEO of this thing and run it. And then I realized pretty quickly I didn't make very much money in 2017. 2017, and my wife and I decided we were going to go build an expensive house in the preserved Harveston. And anyways, all of this, everything happens for a reason. That's everything right. is amazing. That's right. But what I learned was I had to hold my agents to a high level of accountability. So inspect what you expect, right? So I learned a lot in 2017, and then it's been a great growth. So 18 was good, 19 was good, was really good. 20 is great, and look again, shout out to my team, to the W Group. Shout out to my amazing clients and everyone who has made this possible. But there was a lot of growing pains along the way, and I learned a lot. And one of the biggest things I probably learned through this entire process was, again, if I expect to be at a certain level, I expect my team members to have the same motivation, the same drive, the same standards, the same culture. And I expect it. And I'm not, again, sometimes people are motivated differently. Well, I say something all the time.
All the time. Everybody has different motivations.
I learned a lot about motivation, about drive, about what's important to people. And through all of this, I have become a better coach. I have become a better leader. I have realized that I've really got to spend a lot of time with my team members and find out exactly what it is that does motivate them, that drives them, and what's really, really important, and how can I help them achieve those goals. And when I turned that mindset around, things really started to change in my industry, right? Am I saying my industry, in my business? And we've attracted organically an amazing team. And I am if there's a word that I use for 2020, I know a lot of people, it's not what I'm about to say, but I'm extremely grateful.
Same.
Yes. It's been a year. You learn a lot of really, you learn that, look, life, number one, it's short, right?
Right.
Number two, there's some pretty important things. My wife and my children are my why, right? They are the reason that I do what I do. They make it really easy for me to be ambitious, because where I grew up and how I grew up, my parents were amazing. I had a great support system. My parents were very complacent, very content. And I just, I was influenced by some other things, and I wanted other things. And I've been fortunate enough to use that as a driver for me. And again, I couldn't do it. I give shout out to my team all the time, because without them, I'd probably be running around.
You'd still be at the cap, right?
Man, I would be ceiling, and now there is no ceiling. And anyway, so I'm grateful.
And I love that, being able to realize how far you've come and have an appreciation for those around you that made it possible.
For sure.
So one of the big reasons why I wanted to, after I discovered and learned about you, was get you on the show, was what I saw being so different from a lot of real estate firms, and realistically a lot of businesses in general in the Baton Rouge and Louisiana area. We're kind of shy, and we kind of hide away from trying new forms of marketing.
Sure.
Unless you've got a marketing agency that's pushing you to do certain things, and they're doing probably a great job if you're paying for them. If not, you should probably reevaluate that.
Yeah.
But within that, you have vlogs, you've got social media videos, you're all over social media in the sense of capturing moments. You're not sitting there trying to create this interesting conversation. You're not trying to create, you're documenting. Mm-hmm. You're documenting the process, you're documenting your day, your life, and the transactions and the deals and the meetings your team has. And having that, from my perspective and what I've seen in the social media world and kind of the experience I've got in that avenue, is how powerful it is. I mean, just sitting here and looking at the setup that your guy came in, Lewis came and just rocked this, and seeing the setup that he brought in for this was like, okay, this is not a real estate office. This is like a marketing or a PR firm that they're like, oh, we got to capture this interview. Yeah. But he walks in, he's like, no, man, that's what we do normally.
This is how we do it.
It's set up, and it's how it's done, mm-hmm. But it's not how everybody else does it. So what made you? Let's first start off with, how did you see that?
Yeah, so Tom Ferry, who is my mentor. I was a business coach. Tom Ferry, if for those who don't know him, which if you're not in the real estate world, you probably don't know who he is, but Tom Ferry is the #1 real estate coaching company and coach on the planet. And I was influenced by Tom. Tom is a good friend of mine. I know him personally, and I'm grateful for his relationship and his influence over me. And all we kept talking about for the last, I'd say probably 3 years, was just video. And the funny thing is, man, is I went out and bought all this equipment. I bought a DSLR camera. I bought the lenses. I bought the lapel mics and the recorders, and I didn't have a freaking clue on how to use any of them. And I was like, I'm going to be self-taught. And I thought to myself, I'm like, after 3 years of buying the equipment, I have more stabilizers. I have a DJI Osmo Pocket. I had a Canon 70D, camera, a DSLR camera. And dude, it would just sit in the freaking box or the bag and nothing would ever happen. And I realized, right, you always hire to your weaknesses. I'm not a videographer. I'm a pretty technical person, but when it comes to like creativity and things like that, I'm a mixologist on the ones and twos,
right?
But not on the, not in the video world, right?
Right.
So I realized the only way to ever achieve my vision was I had to hire somebody. Mm-hmm. Okay. And for the longest time, I told my team, and I'm like, do we hire a marketing director? Do we hire a full-time videographer? And everybody looked at me like my vision was crazy. They're like, no, we're not hiring a full-time videographer. We're going to somebody to do our marketing and our media. And I'm like, no. I have a vision. Mm-hmm. And I know what my vision is. I just can't articulate my vision.
Right.
Louis Kobetz he's behind the camera. You guys can't see him, but Louis has completely changed the game for us and how we deliver content. The crazy thing is he'll tell you, we first met and it was like we both realized he was in a place in his life. He was a PE teacher at Dutchtown and he was struggling during COVID because he didn't want to go back to teach. And I don't know if I'm sharing too much, Louis, or not. You can shake your head yes or no. And Mar from my team, I said, I'm looking for a videographer. I got to tell the story because it's so good.
Do it. Go.
Marcy's like, I know a guy. I used to babysit him. I've seen some of his videos. He's a videographer. And I said,
He's decent.
I said, call him and let's talk to him. And if anybody knows me, knows I'm intense, and when I got something that I'm excited about, like there ain't no stopping me. I'm all in, and I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of due diligence. I'm just in, and we're gonna figure this shit out. Right?
You're jumping feet first. I'm finding the floaties on the way
dude,
down.
I don't know how deep the water is, but I'm jumping in the deepest part of the ocean. Right.
I like it.
So I met Louis, and I'll never forget. We met each other, and we had a conversation. It was extremely informal. And we just talked about vision, culture, in kind of where he was and in what direction he wanted to go in. And I said, listen, I don't think I can afford you. But I said, we're going to make this happen. So do a proposal and let's figure out how we can make this happen. How can we make this a win-win? You can stop teaching and you can come and do what you're passionate about and you can help us. And maybe 2 or 3 days later, he came back. We had a proposal. I was scared shitless, dude. I was like, I don't know how I can afford this guy, but I know this is the right thing to do.
Well, and so in doing that, so for people that are thinking about doing this, when you go to make this hire, mm-hmm. you have to know that you can't directly link him back to a sale.
I called Tom Ferry.
Yeah.
And I said, Tom, I need some advice. And he said, what's up, man? I said, I really want to hire a videographer. I met with somebody. I think he's amazing. I think he's going to be great for us. Mind you, right? Keep this in mind, guys. I never saw one piece of content this guy ever put out.
That just blows me away.
I had this gut feeling, and I could see him, and he fit every piece of the culture that we were looking for. And he was so genuine and so authentic. And I was like, I freaking like this dude.
Hey,
like this guy is amazing. He's going to be an amazing fit for this team. And I said, I don't know how to do it. So I said, Tom, dude, I need some advice. And I said, how do you measure? Because we track and measure everything, dude. I am a monster. They'll tell you, dude. My team is probably like, dude, we track KPIs on everything. For KPIs, people don't know what that is. Key performance indicators, meaning how many calls did you make, how many people answered, how many appointments did you go on, how many contracts did you write? And I said, Tom, how do you track a videographer and the return on your investment? And he said, Trey, how do you track this? Hey man, I see you everywhere. I said, good point. I said, so what do I do? He said, you hire him. So I don't know if it's the next day, 2 days later, Lewis comes back in, he gives me the proposal, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna do this. But I said, let's do it. Let's do it. We're gonna figure this out. So we came up with a number, and I gave him some flexibility to do some things that would help him. And I said, I promise you, if you stick with me and you let me teach you the business, your life is gonna change. And I told him that. And anyways,
he's still here, so.
Well, he's still here, but I'll tell you some things that have come out of this since, and we'll talk about that in a second. So he came in here, and it was a Monday morning, and he's like, brings his whole gear in here, and I'm like, damn, you got some shit with you. And he rolls out, and he's outside, and he's taking some B-roll inevitably of the building and different things, and he comes in here, and we have a Monday morning meeting every Monday, and then he filmed the meeting. And then he went back in the office and edited. And dude, we had the content by the end of the day, and he put it out, and I'm like, I had this feeling when I saw that, because it's like, you can't articulate something, but when someone delivers on your vision, it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. And everyone on the team saw that video, and they were like, this is going to be special.
Yeah.
Right. So we knew instantly. Again, I knew connection wise that we had just the two of us just talking and just having a one-to-one, that he fit culture. And I was like, if this guy is as cool as he is, and he can produce, like if he can just be himself on the camera, and do that, he's going to be amazing. I just trusted my gut, and he delivered on a level of like a 10, dude, like a 12. He's crushed it. So, very grateful for Lewis.
Absolutely. And that's when you make that decision, you can't say, oh, Lewis is going to directly make 10 or 12 sales, but it's that, oh my gosh, I trust you because I've seen you everywhere. It's putting your company out there first and foremost, that people can look at it, they can listen, and you're not going to get, your whole, you're not going to sit there and just put up a camera and record your whole Monday meeting. Sure. You're going to make it creative, and he's going to make it his own. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to post that, and it's going to be attractive. Sure. Making it, look pretty. For lack of a better term, and people are going to just bombard that content and absorb it. And I feel like Baton Rouge, is a perfect market, a perfect opportunity for creators to come in, find a business that isn't present on social media, that doesn't have the presence of this documented content to then be distributed across these platforms and blow it up. Yeah. So in our world, right? People have to know you, they have to like you, and they have to trust you. Right. So if they see enough of you, and you can build rapport without ever meeting these people that are like, man, I know you and I like you, because we have a certain culture, right? And we gotta trust people, man. We draw in a certain buyer and a certain seller, and we have 11 agents, 12 agents on the team. We have 4 or 5 full-time staff. I say staff, admin type positions, and everybody's different, right? But everybody has that, they fit our culture really, really well. So we know we're going to attract some people, and we're not going to attract people. But I only want to attract the people who are going to fit within our tribe, and that's what we're doing. Our goal is we're building our tribe right now. And again, it's an extreme value proposition when we go to buyers and sellers, or especially sellers, and they're like, well, how are you going to market our house? Good question. Let me show you. Yeah. And then people see the content, and they're like, holy crap, you guys are doing something that no one else is doing. Yeah. So the goal is number one, we want to educate people, right? We want to educate people on the process of buying, selling, and investing in real estate. That's number one. Number two, we want to show people who we are. Right? This is our personalities. This is our culture. Do you like us? Do you not like us? This is what you get, right? Yeah. We can't mask that. This is especially when you're out there and you're in the social media. Yeah. You can't hide who you are. Because if somebody comes and meets you in person, and if they, again, going back to full circle here, meeting that person for the first time in a split second, if it's a good or bad day.
Yep.
If I come and meet you and I know you're full of it,
right.
First thing I'm gonna do is go to the platforms you're on and say, everybody, hey, look, he's full of it.
Right, he's full of it.
He's
That's
full
right.
of it. He's not who he is on behind the camera. He's not the real person. Like it's a facade.
For sure.
They're putting something on just for the sake of social media.
Yep.
And people they worry in that regard because they are putting themselves out there. But I view it as you are trying to get, for whatever you're doing, you're trying to get in front of your customer.
That's right.
You're trying to get in front of as many customers as you possibly can.
100%.
Going back again to not reinventing the wheel. Where are the customers? What are your customers doing in their day-to-day lives, and how can you reach them there?
So they're consuming content on social media. So whatever platform they're on. If they're on
whatever platform they're on.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I mean, we would love to. So if you're watching, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And the Patty G Show channel.
We would love to. So we want to build our brand, right? And we want to be on the platform. So we know not everybody's going to be on Facebook. Our best channel, and we get the most engagement, is on Facebook.
Yeah, it's been around the longest.
It has.
For the way people absorb content.
Sure. And my network is on Facebook. Instagram is slowly growing. YouTube has taken us the longest time to have any sort of influence or really impact on. And it's there's a huge opportunity there, and we know that. So we're trying to get there, but it's just going to be consistency on what we're posting, how often, right? How good is the content? So we're really we have so many different series. So, I mean, we just filmed with Ty Larkins, who's an interior designer, and it's all about trends, right? It's all about interior design trends. It's all about decor trends. I'm going to be meeting with builders. We're going to be going over builder trends. We're meeting with Chris Clare with Stone. We're talking about what kind of cabinets and our countertops and flooring, what's really popular and what are the trends. So right now for us, it's all about education, right? We educating them. Number one, we're letting, number two, we're letting them know, look, we are the experts in this industry, right? We are constantly keeping our thumb on the pulse. I do a market report every month. I can tell you months of inventory, absorption rates. We can talk about days on market. We can talk about new listings, pending contracts, sold. We know because we are dedicated to keep our thumb on the pulse of everything real estate in the greater Baton Rouge market. And we want people to lean on us because we are the experts. So this was a vision. The vision is coming to life. We're just getting started.
I love that.
We brought Lewis on in July 1st. We're in the middle of a pandemic. The real estate market is absolutely bananas, but we're just getting started. There's going to be a massive amount of content, and we've talked about Ryan Serhan is someone who has a lot of influence on me, and Ryan Serhan has developed a media company. Ryan realizes that through his millionaire, what is it? Why am I blanking? $1 Million Listing, New York. So he has this massive influence from TV. He's got a much bigger influence on social media, significantly bigger. And he realizes how much impact he can have on buyers and sellers. And so he started a media company. So I talked to Lewis. I'm like, all right, Lewis.
Start a media company, Lewis.
Let's start a media company. And man, he's had some amazing opportunities. He's working with Baton Rouge General. He's working with some people. And it's, again, all from the content that he produced inside of our company.
Yeah.
That's being absorbed by people on all channels. And it's everybody, I get texts all the time. Who's your videographer? Is he for hire? No, he's not for hire. Maybe. Not if you're in the real estate business. But I get it all the time, and people are talking about it. They're seeing it, which is really, really cool to hear that we are having some influence and some impact.
I love that,
man. with our content. So,
dude, and there's so many people in the world. You can't create too much content. And
Gary
put
V
out too much content. He said 100 pieces a day,
which is insane.
100 cards a day.
Holy smokes!
On a good day, I put out maybe 8.
Right, and we're trying.
And I'm counting stories.
Right.
I'm counting everything. Eight cards a day.
And that's our goal. Our goal right now is we've already built out our entire marketing calendar for 2021, but we're going into like daily, like how many stories are we doing daily? How many Instagram posts are we doing daily? How many Facebook posts? And we have and again, you have to have a system behind. Yeah. So we have a Testimonial Tuesday. We have, Tiger Tuesday. We've got these different series that we have lined up. But the goal is we want to have a piece of content to good, relevant, new content almost daily.
Yeah, and you have to. And I mean, we could spend, I'm sure, hours talking about social media and the content, and that's maybe round two.
Maybe round two.
But to kind of start to wrap up the show.
If you guys will have me back.
Oh, absolutely. And I have no idea what our time is, but anyway, I've got a feeling we're somewhere around the 52. Oh, it's 2 minutes off.
That's pretty good.
2 minutes of me fumbling around with the gear. Let's chalk it up to that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So to start to kind of wrap up the show, you've done hospitality, you've done DJ, you've done work for somebody as an assistant. Now you're a CEO of a very successful real estate firm. What are 3 lessons that you've gathered throughout your journey?
Yeah. That's an amazing question, and I'll try to keep it to just.
Thank you.
I'll try to keep it to just 3. Number 1, and you guys have heard this all the time. Like, if you don't know why you're doing something, if you don't have something that motivates you, it drives you, it pushes you on the days that you don't want to do it, you've got to dig deep and find that why. And number 1A. Please do not do it for someone else. Meaning, don't keep up with the Joneses. Don't try to be somebody you're not. What is your real passion? What does success mean to you? And follow that. So for me, look, I want a house in 30A or a second home in 30A, right? I love the beach. I love to be outside. That's where I want to be, right? To me, that's success. I have my house here, I have a second house there, and I can take a month to 2 months out of the year where I go in and just enjoy life.
Right.
Like, I don't need to live in the most expensive house. I don't need to have the most expensive car, wear the most expensive shit. Like, that's not important.
You got holes in your shoes.
My loafers, I'm wearing these suckers out. Kohan, by the way. Shout out. And dude, shout out to
Kohan
Mikey.
Too.
Steve Madden.
Mine?
Yeah. Only because I read the bottom of them.
Mother loafers are cool.
Dude, and by the way, not to get off these 3 questions, but shout out to Mikey Nelms for the
hooking us up.
connection.
Yeah, Mikey, thank you for that. If you're watching, appreciate it. If you're not, why not?
Right. Number 2, consistency is the most important thing. So whatever it is that you do, right? The compound effect. If anybody believes in the compound effect, Darren Hardy, the Compound Effect book. Just like compound interest and just anything, any little things you do over and over and over and over again consistently will create a massive amount of momentum.
Right.
So I'm a big believer. Find out what it is that really, really, really motivates you and drives you and you're really passionate about. Number 2, what consistently can you do to achieve those goals, and just do the little things over and over and over and over again, and until they compound over time. The third thing is there's 2 things that you can control, and it's your effort and it's your attitude. Okay, no specific order in any of these things, but again, you can control your effort, you can control your attitude. Those are 2 things that you absolutely 100%, you just have to take accountability to yourself. If there were a 4th, and I said the word accountability,
right?
Like having a coach or an accountability partner, someone that will tell you, dude, you're sucking shit right now. You really need to step it up, man. And I love you and I care about you. So I'm going to tell you, you need to crank it up, man.
Somebody who can be real with you.
Somebody who can be real with you, man. Yeah. Because the problem is everybody wants to be friendly all the time, and everybody's afraid of hurting somebody's feelings. And we live in a world today where like no one wants to get their feelings hurt, and everybody's a wimp. I shouldn't say everybody's a wimp, but somebody's going to take that the wrong way. So forgive me for saying that. But you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, have some accountability, hold yourself to a high standard. And man, control your attitude, control your effort, and man, I think if you just follow those few steps, you can have a tremendous amount of success.
Dude, that's nailed it right on the head. So what is something that you did as a kid that you would wish to do today had nobody stopped you?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I think a lot of us kids, I was a very athletic kid growing up. I played basketball, baseball, football my entire life. I was good. I was really good, but I was not great. I was never one of those guys that was knocking on like the Division I scholarships and anything that I did.
Same here, shockingly.
So when you think about, like, if you ask me, I mean, I graduated from LSU with a general studies degree, communications, business, and technical sales. And if you'd have told me in 2007 that I would sell real estate and I would run a real estate team today, I would have told you you're crazy, because it just wasn't something I was passionate about. But I am passionate about business. I'm passionate about people. And I'm passionate about coaching and helping people find and really, like, what is your, what are you capable of, right? Like, what are your limits? Yes. What are you limiting yourself to, right? What are your limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
Let's knock those walls down and let's see where we can take this. And I had a lot of limiting beliefs when I was younger, because I didn't come from a wealthy family. I didn't have a bunch of money. I didn't have this crazy education. I'm a public school, Livingston Parish guy, right? And I think I had a more of a fixed mindset when I was young. And again, not to get on like books, but Carol Dweck, Growth Mindset, amazing book, realizes that, like, you're capable of whatever you want to do. You can learn anything. You just gotta work at it.
Yeah, you just got to put the time in, put the effort in, and make it happen.
Yeah, so I probably didn't answer the question like you asked it. But
sports is what.
Yes, I mean sports.
You're trying to get to the sports angle.
Yeah, so I didn't make it. I didn't make it in sports.
So what sport would you have played today if no one stops you?
Man, I was really good I was the best at basketball because I was tall, and I was a good number 3 shooting guard. I wasn't bad at baseball, but I didn't have the size. Then if you look at me now, everybody's like, "Did you play football in college?" And I'm like, "No, I just like to work out."
Okay. So what do you like most about Baton Rouge?
That is a really, really good question. LSU football is ranking now this year. Hey, it's a rebuilding year.
Hey, our quarterback after last game,
TJ Finley was slinging that ball around, boy.
That's what I'm talking about.
He's going to be good. We're going to look. LSU's going to be fine. They had a lot of big shoes to fill. A lot of coaches left. A lot of players left. I love LSU football. I love, obviously, what most people love is the food, the drinks, the people. It's hard to find people that are so genuine and so authentic and so incredibly just cool here. So, I mean, look, I love it. Born and raised here. I've never left. I've always had this like desire and passion to go somewhere else. But at the end of the day, and I tell my wife all the time, I'm fortunate enough to travel a lot because of what I do. And I always come back and I'm like, man, it's so good to be home.
Agreed.
Aside from the weather, if it was just a little cooler.
Well, I mean, right now we're having a hurricane.
Oh, it is, dude. By the way, when you guys are watching this, Hurricane Zeta.
So when you're listening to this next week on the podcast or whenever you listen to this, right now we're going through Hurricane Zeta, and no, the shutters aren't being blown off the house.
I don't even think it's raining.
There's no big wind. We had discussions about postponing this, but I told him, I said, no, let's wait. Baton Rouge has scathed 29 hurricanes.
Yes, in 2020.
I think we can make another one.
We can make another one.
So for one final question for you, what can I do to help you?
Dude, thank you for being here, by the way.
You're welcome.
Being here and introducing me to your network is huge. I hope also you guys get introduced to Patrick Grimion.
What's happening?
Not Grimillion. For those non-Southern folks. I mean, honestly, dude, look, you and I share a passion for networking, for connecting people, for providing value. So the fact that you're here, you're introducing me to your network, I hope that I can reciprocate with you and introduce you to my network. And I think that you and I, as a team, Man, I think it's going to be pretty fun, man. I think we're going to be able to help each other out a lot.
That's one of the more exciting things about doing this show is I'm meeting all these incredible people, and it's like, well, now that we've just met each other, we just wrote the title.
We should hang out.
That's what I'm saying. We should hang out, drink some beer, right?
And I don't know if Randy Babin is watching this or not, but I posted the story of us setting up the deal.
Randy Babin's my brother-in-law for those.
Brother-in-law who went to dental school with a good friend of mine, Josh Parker, and he's like, "What, dude? That's my brother-in-law." So, anyways, the world is small. It gets smaller. We're all 6 degrees of separation, right? So, Randy, if you're watching, man, shout out. Good to see you, man. Thanks for the reply.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Trey, so much for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And thank you for taking care of all the videoing and getting everything right, Lewis. Man, that makes a big difference.
Lewis behind the scenes making it happen. He just gave us a thumbs up.
Absolutely. So for everybody on Facebook, everybody listening to the podcast, or whatever platform you're hearing, seeing, or listening to this, or watching this, thank you. And be sure to subscribe to the Patty G YouTube channel, subscribe to the W Group YouTube channel. Check us out on all social media platforms. In the show notes, there will be links, so don't hesitate to tap them. And a follow, a like, and a share is just something that takes like a split second of your life, but can impact hours in the long run. So thank y'all so very much. I'm Patty G here with the W Group and Trey. Y'all have a good night. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya.